Women have always had the short end of the stick. Today I present a brief insight on one of the subtler issues faced by women in modern day India, a discrimination thinly veiled as tradition, patriarchy. Now, what is patriarchy? Patriarchy is derived from the Greek word patriarch, is a term for societies in which male is the favored gender and in which men hold more power, dominion, and privilege over equivalent women. Patriarchy can be found at family, community, social, and governmental level. Because patriarchy defines men as the rulers, men and women's roles are strictly defined and, in a sense, enforced. Women must be seen as inferior, weaker, generally less capable, less intelligent, and less worthy. Their work is equally considered lower. They are relegated to hearth and home, cleaning, caring for the family, and serving the husband. Patriarchy means rule of the father. A society or social system is patriarchal to the degree that it promotes male privilege by being male-dominated, male-identified, and male-centered. It also involves the oppression of women. Patriarchy establishes gender divisions. It attributes different characteristics to men and women, exalting male qualities as superior. Therefore, it controls gender roles in society, thus affecting how we think. Patriarchy would elevate all men over women. It is structured violence along gender lines. It is an unjust system in which both men and women participate, but they can change it from within. Patriarchy around the world. Unfortunately, just like racism, patriarchy still exists. And just like racism, it often manifests in casual ways that tend to go unnoticed by the majority of people. Hence, women aren't the only ones who suffer under this everyday patriarchy. Everyone does. Because patriarchy demands that those in power conform to a specific set of rules, ones that require the suppression of feelings and include a lack of empathy. Patriarchy is deeply rooted in the Indian society. From the Manusmriti, we extract a quote: in childhood, a woman must be subject to her father, in youth to her husband, and when her husband is dead, to her sons. A woman must never be free from subjugation. India's patriarchal traditions. The dowry. Much of the discrimination against women arises from India's dowry tradition, where the bride's family gives the groom's family money and or gifts. Dowries were made illegal in India in 1961. However, the law is almost impossible to enforce, and the practice persists for most marriages. Women, the liability. The Indian Constitution grants women's equal right to men, but strong patriarchal traditions persist in many different societal parts, with women's lives shaped by customs that are centuries old. Discrimination against women. India is one of the few countries where males outnumber females. Though prenatal sex discrimination was legally banned in 1996, the law is nearly impossible to enforce and hence not even familiar to all Indian families. The preference for a male child still persists. Widespread domestic violence. Since time immemorial, domestic violence has been an intrinsic part of the society that we are living in. The contributing factors could be the desire to gain control over another family member, the desire to exploit someone for personal benefits, the flair to be in a commanding position all the time, showcasing one's supremacy, so on. The inner patriarch. Patriarchy has shaped cultural attitudes and practices and affects how we think and behave until we become aware of its presence and challenge it. The traditions, rules, and values of patriarchy from the last 6 millennia and often taught or remodeled to girls and boys by their mothers who believed they were shaping their children to survive in a male-dominated world. Hence, the proverbial glass ceiling is both on the outside and inside. We all have an inner patriarch who controls us from the unconscious, an adamantine mold crafted by the society. The inner patriarch operates in both genders, and its voice is the voice of our culture. The inner patriarch, akin to the outer patriarchy, tries to keep women safe by confining them within old, well-defined boundaries so that they will not be exposed to danger or disappointment. Women's inner patriarchs trust and value men more than women itself and believe women should remain inferior, if not in work, then in relationships. The inner patriarch in women either questions the women's intelligence knowledge, and abilities, or is concerned about the women's own emotionality, trustworthiness, and self discipline, effectively tanking their already meager self esteem. The inner patriarch existing in the man is proud to be a one and claims natural authority and privilege as he is born in it. The patriarch within the man expects to be listened to and demands the woman to defer to him, very much in line with misogyny. What patriarchy actually does. Materialism, for example, the want of dowry, and patriarchy together causes rape, harassment, and other heinous crimes. To combat patriarchy, push for a culture of excellence to hold men accountable for their language and actions where all people can make positive influences on the world. This means countering the boys will be boys idea. We shouldn't discount men and their ability to be upstanding individuals. We just have to keep high expectations. Support a spectrum of ideas of what a real man looks like, such as those who are compassionate and responsible. Reframe patriarchy as an issue for everyone, not just for women, since men should take responsibility for altering both themselves and challenging the men around them. Patriarchy has no gender, thus it's going to take all people to combat it. Teach boys and men to authentically communicate their emotions and listen empathetically to others. From an early age, many try to encourage boys to hide their emotions. So whether we work with kids or want to contribute to reducing sexual violence, we need to assist males in learning how to express themselves. Let's promote gender equality. Conclusions. Patriarchy is the root of the world's problems, that is, war, colonization, rape, sexism, racism, so-called domestic violence, terrorism, pornography, sexual slavery, fascism, religious fanaticism, homophobia, to name a few. It is time for all men and women to rise and unite our voices, hearts, and minds to change and transform that which does not serve life. The patriarchal culture in human society must come to an end for the love and upliftment of all. Thank you.